Brandi Norrell, thank you for coming today to Brite Cast, Studio Luxe Boutiques. Maybe start out just telling me how you got started, a little bit of your journey, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Thanks for having us. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Us as in Studio Luxe is a group of amazing ladies that get to build confidence in other women each and every day, whether that's online or social media. One of our tons of pop-up events are one of our 3 brick and mortar locations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, awesome.
So we are currently in Prince William County. We are in Fauquier County as well as Loudoun County. Mm-hmm. And we have the amazing opportunity to build confidence in women each and every day on purpose with purpose through the use of fun and fashion. So
fun and fashion. Yeah.
That's it.
That's awesome.
Emphasis on the fun.
Yeah. So how did you get started? And I read some of your bio and stuff, like you had done education before.
Right, yes.
Okay. What'd you do there?
So did a ton of education stuff. My undergrad is in youth advocacy.
Okay.
So I knew I wanted to make an impact with the youth. However, I had zero desire to be like a social worker because everybody I talked to who was one of those was kind of burned out.
Yeah.
But
I could see that. Was it sad? Like when things
I would
don't
say
work out?
sad and exactly. So I was like, that's probably not the path I want to keep. I want to make an impact, but just in a different way. Yeah. Keep it light.
Yeah.
So over time, that led to me working in the schools, teaching, administration, et cetera. And I loved what I did. Loved the kids, loved the families. By the time I was in education administration, although I was making an impact and making changes that directly benefited the families that we were serving, I blinked and I was so far away from why I started, which was working with kids one-on-one.
Yeah.
And at the time, my daughter was 11, so it was hard to then come home and be a parent because I was a parent to everybody else all day. So I was like, I don't know.
Feel burnt out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, really. Definitely, or very close to.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I love getting dressed every day when I get to work.
Oh, that's good. Before you get to work out.
That's it. That would be the saving grace, right? I'd be like, oh, well, tomorrow I'm going to wear this. Oh, I'm going to this event, et cetera. So I was like, that's always been something I'm passionate about. So let's give it a go.
Yeah.
So you blink and I said, well, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to be a mom. I want to have flexibility to do all of the things and come home and be a person and be the person I wanted to be to my family, my friends, my circle. And love what I do at the end of the day. So
a lot of people don't have that opportunity. That's for
that
sure.
part. So I quit.
Yeah.
And opened up a boutique, signed a lease, opened up a boutique 20 days later and just figured I did harder things and I'd figure it out.
Okay. So did you have money saved up or to make the leap or you
not really. I mean, not intentionally for that. Money saved, yes.
Right.
So everybody has that, rainy day fund where you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do with it. But there's something.
Yeah. Well, that's cool to have that ability too.
Yeah. So I was like, well, I mean, worst case scenario, I can fall back on the things like my I would say for all intents and purposes, my background, right? Like whether that was education, whether it was working with kids, et cetera. I was like, I can come back to this, but nothing's worse than, not having said that you did it, that you tried.
Yeah. So and the jump to be an entrepreneur is that much harder the older you get, I think.
I would agree with that. Yeah. I would agree with that.
If you've never done it before.
For sure.
Obviously. But you can always go back to W-2.
Exactly. And that's what I figured.
It's always on the plate.
There was zero pride in ever having, if I ever had to make the adjustment from entrepreneurship back to a 9-to-5, I could say that I did it.
Yeah, already done it.
Right. Exactly. So now I'll just go back to what I know. So,
right.
Yeah.
So that was, what year did you start?
So October of 2019.
Okay.
Yeah. So pre-COVID business, before we knew COVID was a thing here on the East Coast. So it came with its own unique opportunities for growth.
Yeah. Well, so how did you get the word out? I mean, I obviously use a lot of Instagram and stuff. Was that really what got you going?
That's it. That's all of social media.
Okay.
Word of mouth, social media. And when COVID happened in this area, it's when a lot of our breweries, wineries, festivals, farmers market really made the pivot to creating outdoor market spaces, not only for their brand, but for others so that even if you didn't want alcohol or you weren't there for the food trucks or there may be a vendor there that you had an interest in because nobody was going indoors anymore. So moved to a completely outdoor space. And if you had asked me when I opened the business, do you think you'll ever do pop-ups? I'd have been like, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But that's how so many people in the DMV area met us. So then we grew this dynamic following online of just a supportive community who love local businesses.
That's awesome.
And at those events, we would often meet other great local businesses that now we collaborate with and we have them in our locations and things like that. So it just kind of grew awareness. It grew the areas that we were in because at the time we were just in Fauquier County. So it gave people another reason to visit Fauquier County.
Yeah.
And it gave us a platform to really share the good that was happening in the community because not a lot of people were talking about the good.
Right. And where in Fauquier County in
So
Warrenton?
we're right in Old Town Warrenton.
Okay.
Our first location was on like a side street. It was probably a forgotten about building. It was previously a quilting shop that had been closed for a year.
Quilting is very popular.
It is popular. I mean,
there's a niche. It's a niche for sure. Yeah.
But if you weren't a quilter, you didn't have a reason to visit that location.
Yeah.
And then add that it had been closed for a year prior to us taking it over. And the building's over 100 years old, but it had great bones. It had the architecture
Ghosts?
on it is beautiful. There's probably a few ghosts that were running around there for sure.
Okay.
And that particular building had so many lives. It started off as a stable, and then it was a laundromat at some point, like a wash and fold.
Okay.
So many different businesses, but nothing ever on like the retail end, and nothing that was like a women's clothing store.
So is it on like the main strip, like where Molly's is and stuff?
Yeah, so we've since moved to Main Street about almost 4 years ago.
Nice.
So we occupied that first building for about 2 years, and then we turned it into a children's shop, and then moved the women's boutique onto Main Street. So we're down around where Great Harvest, Town Duck, Open Book.
Yeah.
Because Warrenton has a very unique infrastructure in the sense that it is basically restaurants and bars on one side and then retail on the other.
Yeah.
Whereas other areas like where we are in Manassas, it's kind of mixed in. So we're down with all the retailers and
that's great.
doing great things.
Yeah, that's awesome. So like a lot of foot traffic on the weekends and stuff?
Tons of foot traffic. And Warrenton is unique in the sense that we have we're open there 7 days a week. So there's foot traffic all throughout the week. Weekends are definitely more popular.
Yeah.
For those that have other things going on in the week. However, during the week we're equally as busy, which is pretty
Really? That's abnormal.
Yeah. Well, there's a huge stay-at-home population out there, and then a lot of retirees, especially since COVID, who've moved further out into like the more rural spaces.
Yeah.
So they take day trips all the time. In Warrenton's or Fauquier County, period, their tourism is insane in terms of beautiful like countryside places for weddings and events and parties, and so we get tons of that traffic during the week when people are preparing for their events on the weekends.
Wineries and breweries. And stuff like that. Yeah.
So we get like a lot of out of towners during the week, and then on the weekends we get locals who are taking a day trip and coming to do shows and music and food and tours and shop. So yeah.
Is there good music in Warrenton?
There is. There's a huge live music scene there.
Okay.
Which I didn't know that.
Where do you go to see? I mean, obviously,
there's
Molly's has stuff.
Molly's has stuff. Let's see. There's Altered Suds, which is the basement brewery there. Cast Iron Craft House, which is used to be formerly Sibby's, but they have a huge stage upstairs.
I did not know that.
During First Fridays, they have tons of live musics and bands. Denim and Pearls, Licorice Pizza. I mean, there's so much live music there. Wild Hair does a ton of stuff.
Okay.
So it's a huge music scene. And they also have like buskers that are people who just stand out and offer their music at their own leisure.
Really? Okay.
Right. Like, so I'm
gonna go do that.
I'm just saying, if I was musically inclined, absolutely, I'd pull up with a guitar, no problem. So
is First Fridays as chaotic as it is I mean, for Old Town Strong, we know how busy Manassas gets, but I'm curious about Warrenton.
Warrenton's First Fridays is a whole different scene. It's more family oriented. So it's more driven by family focused activities. Okay. And there's a ton of vendors that are like community-based vendors.
They shut down the streets and stuff.
They shut down the streets on Main Street. So I believe it's 5 or 6 blocks that are shut down.
Okay.
And unlike Manassas, where they shut down like side streets where there's bands and things, all of the activity is on Main Street.
Okay.
So
are there bands outside?
There's bands. There's generally there's a DJ on one end and a band on the opposite end.
Okay.
And then it's filled with vendors. Some of them are like informational, regular service-oriented businesses that are getting their name out about different things that are happening with their companies or opportunities. And then some of them are like actual vendors you can purchase things from, as well as like food trucks. And
so how many people, so there's probably, I don't know, maybe 2,500, 3,000 for, June and July, I would think, in Manassas. Is it Warrenton that?
I would say Warrenton generally is about
I'm not saying that's a good thing either.
No, I would say that Warrenton's probably about half the size, and it tapers off earlier. We kind of get waves of people. So you either get the before dinner crowd where it's like, or after dinner crowd, right? But lots of young kids. Again, we put out cornhole boards and hula hoops and chalk and things because it is a very family oriented area. And they do have and they have a beer garden and a wine garden. And they do have outdoor dining and things, but just a completely different vibe. Manassas is a full on party.
Yeah.
So we enjoy both.
Right.
And Warrenton only does it 5 to 6 months out the year, whereas Manassas does it 10.
Yeah. Right. So, I mean, I've been to plenty of, but the bands are great, I think. Right. It's sad that they are stopping the ones on Battle Street, but I understand that. Yeah. But my buddy's, he's my old drummer, like one of my best friends. Yeah. He plays in Jagged Edge, the cover band. He's a drummer for them.
I'm familiar with them,
and they, there's like 1,000 people that are watching
it's a great It's such
and until about 9:30, it's great.
Oh, it's popping, right? There's a hard shift at 9:30.
Yeah.
But it's been great. So we just completed our first full year of First Fridays in Manassas. Nice. We're coming up on our 1-year anniversary there. So the Super Bowl, which was just this past Friday, was the only one we hadn't participated in.
And who did you have as your?
We partnered with Voodoo Brothers.
Okay.
So it was amazing. They had a flank steak Cajun chili, which was a huge hit.
Nice.
I think the winner's announced today, so I haven't heard yet.
Okay.
And we had our DJ out. So for every First Friday, we host the block party on Center Street.
Okay.
And we have a DJ out front in front of the shop. And
You're
we
the
just
guys with the DJ. Not the girls with the DJ.
Yeah,
okay, all right. Now I know.
Your local girl gang has a DJ.
That's great.
DJ Sean One, he's amazing, very interactive, gets everybody involved, even the people who come by and don't think that they're going to dance or dancing.
Yeah, start
Cupid
singing. Shuffle starts.
Exactly, Cupid Shuffle, the wobble, everything. Or, just people who are out there just dancing and having a good time.
I used to DJ for 6-7 years.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so, I started in, like, emo, screamo bands and stuff like that.
That's a vibe.
And I did, like, pop, hip-hop stuff with my brother, and then ended up DJing, just, like, to make some extra cash and stuff.
Right.
But, I kind of don't miss it, but I would have liked to do it somewhere like that.
Yeah,
where
music is so universal. So regardless on anything that you're having a good time.
Yeah.
It sets the vibe. And I know on First Friday, like at the Super Bowl, it was 30 degrees. It was cold, so it got people moving, it got people dancing. And while they were waiting in those long lines, it gave them something to do. So it was great to see, and people experienced it in a different way. So that was nice.
What was the turnout for the Super Bowl?
So they sold 1,000 tickets.
Okay.
So you
crazy.
think that 1,000 people come into 20 different establishments that aren't restaurants, for a 2-ounce sampling of soup.
We did it the last 2 years. We had already had plans for this past Friday, but some of it was delicious.
Exactly. It was. We had
it's
the
a
best
full
time.
meal for $20 or whatever.
Oh my gosh, right? And it takes you to places that you don't know exist.
Yeah.
And I think they started up by the courthouse, like at Manassas Olive Oil, and all the way down to the Merritt House. So it's a good little trek, and then everything in between, side streets, the whole bit.
Get your steps in.
You get your steps in. You get to eat. Listen to some good music. See some people you haven't seen in a while.
Yeah.
And it's such a destination. There's people that we met that night that they were like, "Oh, we drive an hour for this." Like, this is something that's on our calendar.
Really?
As soon as and it's something that they do, where people who, there are some people that we know who live in Fauquier County. And she came out and I was like, oh my gosh, I've never seen you at a First Friday. And she was like, my old coworkers and I from like 10 years ago, this is what we do. Like, this is our annual thing that we do to get together.
The Super Bowl specifically?
The Super Bowl.
Okay.
Right. And I was like, here for it. Okay.
Yeah. Whatever does it.
No, absolutely. Yeah. So it brings everybody out. Young, old, in between. So it was good to see.
Awesome.
Great community event.
So you said you where'd you go to college?
I went to George Mason.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Went to JMU.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah.
So what did you study?
Youth advocacy is what my undergrad's in.
Is that like a liberal arts degree or?
Basically.
Okay.
For sure. Yeah. So it's a combination of 4 different majors. So education, social work, conflict resolution, and criminal justice. Okay. So
the criminal justice thing would be interesting.
It was so incredibly interesting. When I first started, I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll do something in the criminal justice sector. And then over time, I was like, oh, this is going to harden me for life and I'm going to hate everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do that.
Be skeptical of everything and nihilistic. Yeah.
Right. So I was like, at least this way, it's like, get to dip my toe in, learn more about the field, and then figure out how to keep kids out of jail or cut down on recidivism. So,
well, I'm in my 40s now, so I watch way too much true crime stuff. So it's just like something clicks when you turn 40.
Sure.
So, but I think that I would have had fun doing that, but I do think I would be hardened. And,
like straight out of college, I don't know that. I don't know that now at 40 plus what I would be like.
Right.
If my whole life was working side by side with criminals.
Yeah, it could definitely be. All right, my glass of wine every night.
Exactly.
Is it 5 o'clock yet?
Yeah, right. 5 o'clock somewhere always.
Yeah, exactly. So for Studio Luxe, what was your transition to adding the new stores? How did you know that, all right, this one's working, let's just take it and duplicate it somewhere else?
So it's an interesting question. So I do everything based on feeling. Everything's like heart-led for me. So it's one of those things that I have to like go and experience a new location. Okay. So that opportunity presents itself and I go and just kind of visualize do I think that this would be a good place? For me personally, I really enjoy like historic districts. I love the idea. I'll never be in a shopping center. I love the idea of connecting with people every day and then being part of the community, like the fabric of the community and figuring out not only how do we make like an impact from a fashion and fun standpoint, but also like to be able to give back and to participate in the everyday aspects of the community, as well as like finding local vendors.
Right.
Warrenton and Manassas couldn't be more different.
Yeah.
But in the best ways. Manassas, when I made that jump last year to include Manassas as part of like one of our newest locations, it's a city that I love. I adore it. It's like the best of both worlds, right?
Yeah.
It's close enough to, it has city vibes, but it also is like a quiet little Hallmark town all at the same time. Everybody knows each other.
Just not at 9:30 on First Fridays.
Well, no, except for that one day.
The rest of the time,
it's a vibe.
Yeah.
And even that crowd, we have those people that come in at 9:30, 10 o'clock, and they're like, oh, we come like when we're winding down. Right? So even then, we've never had any like bad First Friday experiences.
Good.
It's always been awesome. But there also isn't like any dedicated like spaces other than we're coming with the music and the fun. Right. You can't be too rowdy here in this space.
Yeah.
But Manassas, it is such a robust location and full of like so much diversity and culture and just great people and good vibes. So
do you have really totally different? Like
all of our inventory is different at each
yeah.
location.
Okay.
And part of it is to meet the needs of the audiences that we serve. And then also just based on the size of the location. So our location in Manassas is a very curated collection because it's so small. We're like just under 400 square feet. Whereas in Warrenton, our space is 2,400 square feet.
Oh, yeah,
so day and night. So just a little more careful, but we get new inventory every single day. So that's one of the benefits. So it's always
for both or for all three?
Yes.
Okay. And so do you source them? Is that your main thing?
Well, yes and no. So yes, I source all of them. But it's one of those things that once we establish a partnership with certain makers, it's not necessarily something I have to always go physically to go do.
Right.
We use apparel markets that I definitely go visit to meet new vendors and work with ethical companies.
That seems like there's some unethical ones in there to talk about.
I think that's in every field, right?
Yeah.
The good, the bad, and kind of just where there's a little uncertainty. And then the biggest thing for us is quality.
Yeah.
It's important how people spend their money and they have choices. So we're always honored that they want to spend them at Luxe. So in that, we want to make sure we're giving them like a quality product, something that's going to last. And not only, in addition to them looking cute and them feeling good in their clothes, like it's gotta make it.
So is it local people that
So some of them are local. So a lot of our jewelry is local. We just added plants to our store. That's a local vendor. A lot of our gift giving, candles, I'm trying to think what else. Soaps, bath bombs, all of those are local-based vendors.
Yeah.
So that if the quality is awesome, so we've got to experience them, we get to have conversations with them, and then if nothing else, if there's ever any issue, they're right here to fix it.
Yeah, that's nice.
And we've never encountered any issues, which makes it that much better. But they really stand behind their product, and we can confidently say, "Oh, we're collaborating with this local vendor. They're Prince William County based, Fauquier County based, Loudoun County based, and we have an actual relationship with them."
So how many employees do you have?
So currently, total in all of them, we have just over 30.
Oh, wow.
And all of them aren't like local. Some of them, we have a few that are remote that help with some of our our graphics girl. She lives she lives in a whole nother state. We have an admin that rarely comes to the shops, but she helps us with all the back end stuff and some of our events and things like that. But then we have teammates that just go to certain shops, and then some that travel to all of them. So.
Well, I mean, that's kind of. Do you have part-time people too?
So yes. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
So we're kind of built like a quilt.
Okay.
I meet people where they are. So if you say to me, "Hey, I love what you guys are doing. I think I'd be a great fit. I would love to be a part of this team. However, I can only work every other Sunday."
Right.
Game on. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So
as long as you're consistent.
Exactly. I was going to say, and they're awesome.
Yeah.
So it's really, we're built like a quilt. Definitely a huge team of part-time people.
So what does it look like? Let's say I was a woman.
Okay.
I came in, what would my experience be like?
So it is just that. You said it right. It's an experience.
Okay.
The goal is that everybody feels better when they walk out than the way that they felt it, than they walked in. So in that, we're going to greet you, we're going to show you around, and really figure out if there's a need or a want, or if you're just hanging out with us. And it's cool to just hang out too.
Yeah.
It is a full-on sensory experience that, we're mindful of the lighting. We're mindful of the decor. We are mindful of how it smells and how it looks, and have the store broken up into color coordination. So if you're the person that only wants to wear black, you don't have to look over the entire store to find it.
Yeah.
We can help guide you, and it's not an overwhelming experience. Oftentimes, anything fashion related, any store, it's overwhelming because there's so much happening.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You don't have, it's hard to figure out what you want because there's so many options. So we try to help with that and provide assistance anytime. And for people who have some people are very sensitive to different sensory experiences. We offer a private one-on-one shopping where they can come in and set up an appointment and come in one-on-one, and we can help them figure out what it is to meet their needs best.
Right.
Or we do sip-in shops oftentimes, so women can come in. Yeah, there you go.
I'll put a wig on.
That's it. They come in and, whether that's with a group or whether that's solo, we can offer that. We do a ton of fundraisers in the shop. So we just kind of meet our audience wherever they are, whatever that looks like. So, yeah.
So the personal shopping stuff, let's say, as I'm getting older, I'm losing touch with, so I imagine that happens a lot with other,
it does.
tired moms or something but they still want to look hip. So you can curtail their entire wardrobe if they want, or just kind of hey, you're looking for this look, we'll do it.
So one of the myths that we have to help people get past is oftentimes you hear the word boutique and you hear expensive. You hear overpriced. You hear, I can't afford to go in there. So we are bougie on a budget. You can be fashionable. You can find clothes that are transitional and comfortable and that make you feel confident, but you don't have to break the bank to do it.
Yeah.
So once we get past that hurdle, in addition to oftentimes people have poor experiences in boutiques in terms of how they're made to feel, whether it's their size or their uncomfortability with trying certain things, we generally can help people find exactly what they need. We encourage people to bring the shoes with them that they want to wear, or, if there's something specific that you want to match it with, bring it with you.
Bring your Pinterest.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Bring us your inspo. Tell us about the event. Oftentimes people will come in and say, I have this event. Well, we want to know, is it inside? Is it outside? Is it formal or not? Do you have something you're trying to wear with it? So there's a lot of dialogue and communication and relationship building that goes into that for people to trust us in order for them to be comfortable with us choosing things for them. However, oftentimes it turns into just that, a relationship.
Yeah.
They can message us and say, oh my gosh, I saw you guys posted X. What do you think about that? I have that event coming up. Or, they come in and they say, oh girl, it's that time of year again where, I have this and this and that. We have vacation coming up. I would love for you to pick out something for us to wear. And when they say us, a lot of times it includes their daughters or their mom if it's like a family trip or an anniversary party. And we help them with that full look.
That's
to
great.
Make them feel comfortable.
Yeah. Well, and also, as getting older, I just want to look good. I don't care. And I don't want to have to deal with the decision.
You don't want to have to do the work. Yeah. And so oftentimes if you tell me enough about the experience you're trying to have in terms of what you're wanting an outfit for, whether it's just because I just want a wardrobe revamp or I have this event to go to, I can walk through the store and pull things from you based on what you've shared with me, as well as things that you wouldn't have picked on yourself.
Right.
I'm going to be the person that's going to pick a couple wild cards and be like, okay, head in the fitting room and go try all of this on. And I'll also encourage you to walk around and pick out some things too, so that you can kind of have a comparison. Sometimes for women, it comes down to sizing. One of the biggest things that we say is it's not what size it says, it's what size it fits.
Yeah.
Because we want your clothes to be complementary.
Right.
I think we all, especially the 40-plus gang, we know what size we used to be.
Yeah.
We know what our body used to look like.
Yeah.
And that changes. It doesn't mean that you can't be fashionable or fashion forward.
Right.
It just means we have to figure out something that works best for you to feel good and look good.
Yeah. What do you think about these Jinkos and stuff coming back?
So there are some fashion trends that should stay in the past.
Yeah, okay.
But if you are dedicated in wearing them, we can help you to find something to accentuate that look where it doesn't look like you're stuck in the 90s.
Yeah, well, that's what I actually wore those. I was a skater for 2 or 3 years.
Okay,
I wasn't very good, but
right.
But the big, huge, Jinko pants were
sure
necessary.
Oh, absolutely. It's part of that fashionable checklist. You were on trend.
I saw this TikTok of they were overdubbing Trump signing an executive order that all skinny jeans are not allowed to be worn anymore. I'm like, no, I'm not going to big baggy jeans.
That's it. Well, there's something, for every single fashion opportunity, because that's what it is. You can choose to do it or not.
Yeah.
You have to figure out if it works for you.
Right.
But there's always something that's just a little bit less or a little bit more where you can find where it keeps you on trend, but you're also true to your style without looking crazy.
Yeah. Are there specific trends that are not happening anymore? Skinny jeans being one of them.
Right. So fashion is a feeling, right?
Yeah.
So it's as awesome as it is for you. Like if it's comfortable for you and you feel confident in it, you can wear a trash bag if you want to. And if you have the right confidence, you can pull it off. Right. You can pull it off. But nobody questioned her in those videos when she did it. Everybody was like, that's so her. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That looks awesome on her. I could never do it.
Yeah.
So fashion's a feeling. So
right.
It's all about how it makes you feel.
So how do you like figure out your own style, what you want? Do you get it inspired from Pinterest or stuff like that? Or are you just kind of like, no?
So again, it comes, for me, it's a feeling, right? It's, but it's also knowing women, knowing their bodies, knowing sometimes what fits best and what will look best. There's some things that we carry in the shop that I will never wear, ever. I think they look great on certain people. It's just not for me.
Yeah.
Same thing with certain like colors. Every year there's a color of the year. There's some colors, never, ever am I going to wear them.
I'm not going to wear yellow, personally.
Right, exactly.
I'm not gonna do
I don't wear browns and oranges. It's too close to my skin tone. Right.
Like,
it doesn't work, but there's some people who put it on and it's amazing.
Yeah.
And so that's the goal, right? Is figuring out what works best for you. So I'll never say never when it comes to certain trends. I just know whether or not I'm going to wear them, or if I do, how I'm going to accessorize them and make them work for me, and also how to tell other people like what our suggestions are on ways to pair them with what their current wardrobe is.
So do you guys ship stuff, or do you have to go to the store? Or?
So that's a great question. We're not online at all.
Yeah.
And so if you know what size you wear, if we've met you, we're comfortable with shipping.
Right.
But it's really creating that experience of having a personalized shopping experience in the shop to not only build the relationship, but to, again, to find things that are complementary. How often have we ordered something online and we get it and we're like, wait a minute, it did not look like that. It was not this color.
Yeah.
And why can I see through it?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
This didn't look like that online. I think, and then you're frustrated, right? Because you're like, I got to take it back. I got to wrap it back up.
Right.
I got to print the receipt.
It's going to take 3 weeks.
It's going to take 3 weeks. And oftentimes those things never make it out the door. And now we've wasted money. Whereas if you're in one of the studios, you have an opportunity to feel the quality. You can see it. There's mirrors. You can try it on. It's endless. And you can get our feedback.
It probably reduces your churn and stuff too.
Oh,
because
absolutely.
They already tried it on. They liked it.
Exactly.
I mean, your amount of returns is probably pretty low.
It's pretty low. The highest rate of return is during the holidays when people are buying for other people.
Right, of course.
But oftentimes, if you come to me and you say, hey, Brandi, you know my wife. And I'm like, oh, yeah. I want to pick her up something for the holidays. I can pull 5 or 6 things because I know her size. I know what works well for her. I know the colors. Or she's messaged me and said, hey, Mike is on his way in. I'm going to come pick out my gifts and just have him pay for them. And the response is always the same. No problem.
Do all the grocery shopping, so it sounds like something I would do as well.
Exactly. My response is always the same. Okay, you just have to act surprised when you open it.
Yeah, exactly. Like
that's the only rule.
Like he did his job or something.
Right. So it cuts down on the returns for sure.
Yeah. So what's like one of the biggest challenges that you've had to deal with, especially over COVID probably was part of it. Although you kind of thrived during COVID based on what you just said,
Right.
But like what other, like managing 30 people, I imagine is probably pretty tough. And their attitudes, or hopefully they don't have them if we have vet properly. I
have the best team, hands down.
That's awesome.
I am fortunate in that way. And most of our team is their customers turned teammates.
Yeah.
Or it's someone on the team has referred someone else, so they have a good idea of who we are. Or it's people who've heard about us, and just over time, some of them met us at pop-ups and over again. And those people are now the ones that work our pop-ups because it's such a fun environment.
Right.
We often fight over who gets to go to pop-ups because we're getting paid to have extra fun.
Even though you thought you weren't going to do that at all.
At all. But we're getting paid to have extra fun at pop-ups.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So the team piece hasn't been a challenge. I would say one of the most unique challenges we've had would be I always have to know what else is happening, right, around us. Women's boutiques are often few and far. However, we can serve the same clientele. So it's making sure that we set ourselves apart in the right way all the time, and just being aware of potential silent competition or real competition, or just other vendors. And how we set ourselves apart in that way is oftentimes, if I know another boutique is like within, a 15-mile radius, I want to be able to refer them. If we don't have something that you need, I want to be able to say, oh, you should go down to this place, or you should go down to this place, or have you tried this place? So it's always just being aware of what else everybody else is carrying so that it's completely different.
Yeah.
And then that we can be a referral source for each other.
Mm-hmm. And it's an abundance mentality as opposed
Absolutely.
to...
Instead of the scarcity mindset.
Right.
I'm a huge champion of small businesses and all of us winning because there's so much room for all of us.
Yeah.
So in that is me knowing that your products. So I can say, oh my gosh, there's a great candle company right here, 3 doors down. You should head down there. Oh, this place carries their own soap line. So that means that we're not carrying candles. We're not carrying soap.
Right.
Because there's enough for all of us. But if we all have the same products, then that's impossible.
Right. Do you think that your competitors or your, we don't even need to call them that, but do you think the other businesses are doing what you're doing to try to set themselves apart?
At times, yes, I think so. But I make sure that when I'm there, I'm like introducing myself. They know who I am. They know why I'm there. I'm not here to spy on you. I want to make sure that we have
got binoculars.
Right. I'm not taking pictures. I'm not making it weird. And oftentimes I buy things from them because, again, I want to support local businesses because I know that there's magic in being small business owners. I know it's not easy. But I also know that there's so much value in it that I want us all to do well. So if that comes into me taking a video and tagging you guys, even though some other people would say, oh my gosh, that's a competitor. Why would you share their stuff?
Yeah.
Well, they have products that I don't have. And some that I have actually, in a lot of cases, zero desire to carry.
Right. Yeah.
We're never going to carry formal dresses. So if there's a location that does that, we're going to share that. Especially with Manassas being like more petite in terms of size, we're limited on what we can carry. So we have to be so careful on what we're carrying because it has to move, that I want to share all the good that's around us. So I don't know if other businesses are doing it, but I do know that kindness is contagious. So
yeah, absolutely.
The goal is that they pick up
you're
on
a kindness ambassador, is that what
for
you
sure,
said? Okay.
Yes, resident rebel, kindness ambassador.
Okay.
I really know that there's so much benefit in just kindness, treating people like people, sharing the good, collaborating over competing. It just makes a huge difference. People are going to treat you the way that you treat them. Okay. So if you're always leading with kindness, the likelihood of you making genuine connections, creating authentic partnerships, and really creating an intentional space for growth for everybody, it works out.
Right.
And also it makes it very easy to then come alongside the community and partner when things happen or when you ask for help when you need it. People are more likely to ask because they're like, wait a minute, they're genuine, they're kind. Yeah. They're asking because they need, but so yes, let's partner, let's figure that out.
Was there like a certain time in your life where that kind of clicked for you or you just kind of were raised right?
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Okay.
So it's really how my parents raised me.
Yeah.
And Raleigh is such a different place in the sense that when you're at the grocery store and somebody is trying to give you your change back, they're not letting it go until you answer whatever question they had, whether it's how you're doing, how is your mom, where's your shirt from. They're not giving it to you until you answer their question. Okay. Everything is slow paced.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
So that is very similar to how we run the studios. We're intentional about connecting with people and making people feel like people because that matters over the profit.
Absolutely. Because what kind of change are you actually making other than just having a profitable business, which is great, but if you're not being good to people,
exactly.
So that's Raleigh's a cool town. I played a couple shows there back in the day. But it's definitely the different vibe than the hustle and bustle of Northern Virginia and stuff.
When I came here for college, oftentimes I would go back home. It's like a 4-hour drive. I'd go home and I would be like the only person racing around, and it would take me like a whole 24 hours. And my mom would often look at me and be like, "What are you in such a hurry about?"
Right.
It's like, you're right.
Yeah. So what brought you to Mason? Was it because of that specifically, because of what they were offering?
Not necessarily what they offered. So my parents are military brats, and my grandparents had settled. My granddad's last duty station was in Fort Belvoir.
Okay.
And so he continued to be in the area. So we used to come here all the time for holidays and family stuff. So I had a good sneak peek of the area, and I was like, okay, it's close enough to home. I have family there.
Yeah.
But I also can be somewhere alone. They didn't live in Fairfax. So I was like, it's close enough, but far away. I have kind of a network here. And Mason is the best of both worlds in terms of it has a beautiful campus. It's not in the heart of a super busy downtown area, but there's opportunities. Right. And it was close enough to the Beltway that I could go home when I wanted to.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So did you stay on campus?
Yep. Stayed on campus.
Wow. You're one of the few people.
Right.
Most people are just commuters or whatever.
Right. And I did it my last 2 years, the first 2 years. And then I was like, I really want to do more than just this. I want to have school life balance.
Yeah.
And Mason is one of the most spirited schools on the planet for not having a football team.
Yeah.
But when you're on campus, it is truly, you don't really make it off campus ever because there's always so much activity and so many things to do, which is really cool. But I felt like I needed to experience more of everything else that this area had to offer to decide whether or not I was going to like stay here long term.
Right.
I felt like the first year.
Just get an apartment off campus. Yeah. When I went to JMU, I stayed off campus. I went to Nova for 2 years.
Okay, yeah.
And then went to JMU for the rest. Some of the best times of my life.
Okay.
What I remember.
You had the best time.
But yeah, I mean, it was a really cool school. I'm glad that I got the best of both worlds. Like
nice.
I wouldn't have wanted to live on campus. I don't think sharing a bathroom with 50 people on it. I don't think I would have wanted to do that personally.
Yeah, right. Guys are different.
Yeah,
girls.
Yeah. 4 was bad enough. 4 guys in one house was enough for us.
Right, exactly.
So, is your daughter as fashion focused as you?
Oh my gosh. So my daughter, she's 16. She's a junior in high school. And yes, however, she either is like super fashion forward or she looks like Adam Sandler. Like, but I think that's all teenagers at this point.
Yeah.
She's a cheerleader for the school. So she's varsity cheerleader. So,
nice.
There's the athletic version of her. There's the going out version. And then there's the
PJs at home.
Right. Then there's Adam Sandler. Like,
Adam Sandler he has quite the style.
I mean, he does. He clean, but always looks like he's rolled right out of bed. It's a really interesting balance.
Yeah. So, there's husbands that are that need to be dressed too. Have you ever thought about doing that? I mean, sure, you're women focused for now, but is there any part of maybe
down the road? We offer like things for men. You know what I mean? Like we have like leather wallets. We have great smelling candles. We have somewhere to sit to keep you comfortable. You can use our Wi-Fi while you watch the game. We always have great recommendations locally on places that you can go in the meantime while your wife shops or your partner shops. So yeah, maybe, but I'm no urgency.
Not in the vision.
No, not in the big picture. Yeah.
So with these 3 stores, is there plans for more? Or you want to be able to grow, but where it's manageable for you as the CEO. Yes. Like, okay, I need to be able to have enough time in the day and still vacation sometimes.
So I think there are some plans to grow. I know that there's plans to grow. We're kind of currently looking at a couple of different locations. Okay. So there are some things in the works that will be happening early to mid-spring, for sure. And then I think at some point we will be moving to online as well. There's so many of our customers have moved out of the area for one reason or another, whether it's, work, home, life balance, retiring, and they want access to us more than anything. They're like, oh my gosh, we saw all your stuff, but we're not in the area. So they come and visit us for sure when they're in town. But creating a platform that they can use. So thinking about creating some sort of online presence where we have like weekly drops instead of daily like we do in the studio, to create an extra space. So in the process of vetting out some warehouse locations that are pretty cool to make that happen.
Yeah. So that would just be for the online stuff?
Yeah. So, I mean, it would be a multi-use space. We'd be able to host live selling events out of there. We'd be able to have warehouse sales.
Your own pop-ups, really.
Right. To be able to create like a community within the community. We just did our first pop-up event in-store for 5 vendors yesterday in our Warrenton location, and it went really well. And it was kind of like we knew there was all something different. So it was like a plant company, someone who was doing fairy hair, permanent jewelry, and someone who makes original fragrances. So
permanent jewelry?
Yes.
What's that?
So permanent jewelry, so I actually have some on. So they're welded, so there's no clasp on them.
Oh, okay.
So you pick your jewelry, like whatever it's going to look like. And it can be a ring, it can be an anklet, it can be a necklace, it could be a belly chain, or bracelet. It's endless.
How do you get it off if it doesn't?
Cut it off. You snip it off. There's like a tiny jump ring.
You're committed
to it. So,
okay.
I think I have like 8 of them on, and they've all been on for like 2 years. I can shower in them. And and you can decide if you want rose gold, sterling silver,
that's pretty
yellow
cool.
gold. You're committed to it though. So my daughter and I got one yesterday.
So I'd have to get silver.
Right, I would say but and so we find that a lot of people do it as like a fun. So my daughter and I did one yesterday. So a lot of mother-daughter teams do it. Friend groups, people who work in offices together.
So it's like a matching tattoo without the commitment.
Without the super commitment. It's a semi-commitment in comparison to a tattoo.
You have some really cool tattoos, by the way. Is that a local person?
Yes. So her name is Chelsea Darling. She works out of Mr. Finster's in Falls Church.
Okay.
When I initially met her, she worked actually here in Prince William County in Manassas. But she's pretty awesome.
At Exposed or somewhere like that?
Yeah, she was at... it's what is now Visionaries.
Okay, yeah.
On Main. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. And it's when they used to be, I believe they were, oh goodness, Virginia Tattoos maybe. Mm-hmm. They used to be on 234.
Yeah.
So this was like 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the rest is history.
That's awesome. So what you don't know is my wife and I got matching tattoos.
Nice.
Terrible ones. Oh. I'll show you when I don't have long sleeves on. Okay. But we need cover-ups.
Okay.
Badly.
I could probably recommend some folks that can do that for you.
Please do. It's just been like so low on the totem pole. Like, I started this business in part-time like in 2018 for the first 2 years. And then I lost my job during COVID. Okay. And I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to go all in and do it.
I'm going to do it.
Financially, it's like, it's not my top priority.
For sure.
Because I don't want to get it covered up. I want to get a sleeve, and having someone really good that's gonna be $3-4 grand. Yeah. Would I rather go to Cancun or something?
Yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah, it's on the list. I use tattoos as like milestones. Like when I get to a certain point, I'm like, oh, that's like tattoo fun stuff. Like I've gone on the vacay, I've done this, I've done that. I most recently went to the Philadelphia Tattoo Convention. Okay. And we did 2 days of tattooing.
Go Birds.
That's right. Oh my gosh, I'm such an Eagles fan. So
are you?
Yes,
okay,
so
perfect time to hang out today.
That's it. So I actually went during same weekend as the playoff game. Mm-hmm. And it was awesome. Like it was such an awesome experience. But so I went for 2 days and we started on my leg sleeve and it was
what are you getting on your leg?
So actually, I really trust my tattoo artist. Chelsea's amazing. So I always let her pick. Okay. So for the last few times that I've been tattooed, she's got to pick. So it's like a ornamental piece. It has some florals. It has a bee. So like this one, she picked my whole arm. And I just give her some general direction. I went
What was that elbow?
I went flat. It didn't feel great. But I will say she did... This time she did my kneecap and the bridge of my foot. And I would say that made the elbow not even matter anymore. Really? Yes. It didn't feel great.
Okay. So what does she do on your leg?
So it's ornamental. So it's a lot of it is just some geometrical type shapes. Yeah. A lot of I would say really very cool. Similar to some of this that I have. So there's some florals. I think there's a bumblebee. But she gets to take full reign over that because she's the artist. Yeah. And the same way no one can tell me how to do my job probably better. They can give me tips and pointers or suggestions. Right. But I know the vision of Studio Luxe. Well, she's the artist. She knows the vision. She has to draw it. So if it doesn't make sense or it's not something she's excited about, it's going to show. So
right. And you're also carrying that art.
For sure. It's lifetime art. I'm walking advertisement all the time.
Does she have to do touch-ups on it or anything?
Not usually.
How long have you had that one?
So this arm, I think we're 5 years in. This one is probably 4. Yeah. My chest was done maybe 2 year or 2 ago. Mm-hmm. We finished my back 3 years ago. So
is she mostly black and white?
Yeah, she does all black and gray scale. Yeah. And she really she does a lot of different techniques. So some of it is a lot. She does fine line. She does lots of heavy shading. So you have to.
Does she draw it out first, or she just freehand it?
She draws it out, and so it's really just the outline, and then she freehands in terms of the shadowing and some of the details. And then oftentimes she'll come back and look at it. So she's seen this arm just a couple weeks ago and she was like, oh, I think I want to go back and add blah, blah, blah. Right. Okay, great. You got a vision.
So how many hours was that, if you could?
Let's see. I would say we were probably, by the time it was all said and done, and we did it in 4 sessions. So, like in quarters. Mm-hmm. Say probably when it was all said and done, probably close to 24.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. And the 2 days that we did on my leg, I think we ended up at 14 hours or so. By the time that we figured out the stencil and, symmetrical, it has some lines in it that had to be straight.
What's the longest you go in one sitting?
I think when we did this face on my arm, she did it at one of the conventions. It was one of the local ones. I think we sat for 10 hours. Wow. But I knew but it comes down to time. Owning the shop, I know that I can carve out a day or two at a time. Yeah. So we just gotta let's just go until we can
get it in and take some Tylenol or something.
Or you get tired. Whoever taps first, we just know that we're done. So we have more work to do on my leg on the front. However, one of the things we looked at, we were well, would it make a difference if we go another hour? Because with the conventions, it's a hard stop at a certain time because they kick everybody out. Yeah. And she was we won't finish, so I'll see you at home. I was yes.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. So we'll let it heal. And I think our plan is March or April, we'll hop back in and make it count. So,
are you going to get an Eagles tattoo?
Probably not. Probably
she
no
could probably
Eagles.
do pretty cool,
yeah,
though.
She might be able to. If she can put a fun spin on it, I'd be down.
Yeah.
I'd be down.
Why an Eagles fan if you're from Raleigh?
My dad, so that was one of his parents' last duty stations was in Pennsylvania. I'm in the Westchester area, so they were big Eagles fans. So I grew up in an Eagles house. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Our, I guess my cousin-in-law, he's a huge Eagles fan.
Yeah.
They live in Bluemont, right outside of Philly.
I was saying, I know exactly where that is.
Yeah,
it's not a bad team to root for.
Well, not now. I mean,
right. Like, not now.
It was tough to watch, though.
Oh, for sure. It was a tough game.
Yeah. So community stuff. Have you been to an Old Town Strong event? I feel like I need to cordially invite you to come to a happy hour. It's at Voodoo Brothers, the next one we have.
Okay, so that's across the street.
Yeah.
So I'm here for that. I accidentally wandered into one, not realizing that the event was even happening.
Yeah.
I think it was like a wings eating contest. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
You're like, that's so us. Yes.
Yeah.
So I walked into one, didn't know it was happening, but you guys are doing such amazing things in this area.
So I don't know if you know about it, but it was me and my buddy Greg that he really started it because we have a whiskey club too.
Okay, yeah.
So you see the stuff we have out there. We started the whiskey club, and then when COVID happened, we started Old Town Strong because we wanted to raise money for local people that work in restaurants that weren't getting paid.
Okay, right.
Then it's just kind of like continued to snowball, and he unfortunately passed away last year. So like we're trying to continue the everything, but I think it's got a better vision. So we do right now is like we have some matching people with sponsors that will match whatever we raised, for that quarter. And then like Boxes of Basics was our last vendor that we got.
We just partnered with them.
It's not like super rich, but $5,000 is something.
No, that's still a huge. I think for any nonprofit, any donation is a good one, whether that's like a physical thing or whether that's cash to continue their mission or so. All of that's awesome.
And you got a lot of stuff for Boxes of Basics too, right?
We did. So we did a Fill the Truck event. And unbeknownst to us, we didn't realize that we knew the community would come around us and be excited about it. And we announced it a couple weeks prior to Christmas with the plan of during Christmas break when you're home, you're burning off that last PTO, you're having downtime, your kids are home, you can purge your closets. We didn't realize, so we posted it at 5 o'clock in the morning, and at 10 o'clock when we opened, people were at the door with donations.
Oh, right. That's awesome.
Right. So it was a good problem. So we were really excited about it, but people continue to drop off donation after donation, during this 3 weeks. And then the day of Fill the Truck, we filled, I think it was a 18-foot
box truck, right?
Box truck that all awesome movers donated. So again, that goes back to that community partnerships. They stepped up and knocked it out the park. They were like, oh my gosh, we can have a truck and we can have somebody help you guys unload it and deliver it. And so when it was all said and done, we filled 2+ box trucks and were able to deliver them to Boxes of Basics right before our first snowstorm. So it was perfect.
Yeah, that's
so
really
it's been really cool. So
the
community support has been endless, and it just kind of goes back to the power of community, right? So we use our social media platform not just for the fashion and the fun, but also to partner with people and great organizations and just bring awareness to the things that are happening in our area because so many people just are unaware because life is busy.
Yeah, exactly. Or they're not as plugged into actually being downtown all the time. And
or it doesn't affect them, so they don't hear about it or, and a lot of people, they go to work, they come home. They go to work, they come home. So if it's not in your circle, whether it's not just that it's not affecting you, but if nobody's talking about it, then, you might not hear about it. Whereas everybody kind of scrolls on their phone at some point. So if it's, a really awesome place that you follow, whether that's a restaurant or Old Town Strong, we can use our platform for good to bring awareness to all the things that are happening in our community without that person having to be super tapped in.
We're actually going to do, if you don't mind, we're getting little QR code stickers to put on the front for Old Town Strong.
Let's do it.
So I'm getting those printed this week.
Let's do it.
Trying to go to everyone in Old Town.
I know a place.
Okay. Yeah, perfect.
I know a really cool boutique that you can put one at.
So I've known a lot of people in Old Town because I grew up, been in Manassas since I was 2.
Okay.
2.5 years
old.
Home, so
right.
So bar hopping and stuff was always what I was doing in my 20s and everything. So I know Chris Sellers and John Gibbon and all those people in Old Town.
Yeah, so all my biz besties. Yeah,
nice to have another and Darren Blevins. He's coming on next week, 2 weeks from now.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
We yell at each other across the street all day.
Yeah. Oh, really? So you're right across the street.
We're directly across the street from Black Metal Mercantile.
Is that where you get some of the candles for Shining Soul? Do you get some?
So we'll have some of their candles, hopefully in this next year. But one of the things is that we don't carry candles on purpose.
Right.
So that we're able to refer to other places.
Yeah.
So if it helps them for us to have candles in that space, then that's something we can absolutely do.
Right.
But really just becoming like so focused on supporting each other that everybody wins.
Yeah.
Whatever that looks like. So oftentimes, I'll go into Shining Soul or Black Metal Mercantile or Honey and Ivy, Calico Jack's, or any of the restaurants down there, and I'm talking about the things that I'm buying. Or, hey, this would be a great thing to pick up for, whatever the Valentine's Day. It's things that we don't carry, but it may be something that you didn't know that existed down here. More often than not, people comment on our social media, oh my gosh, I didn't know that was there. Oh, I didn't know that they carried that. I've driven past there so many times, and I didn't know. So it gives them an opportunity to shop locally, having the Reuse Center, Filigree or Dabble, all of these places that have so many like out-the-box ideas that if you don't know, you don't know. Or the things that you hear about in larger city areas, where you'd be like, that'd be so cool if we have one. Well, we do have one.
Yeah.
We actually have one here. So, yeah.
And the food has gotten so much better in Old Town since like, 15 years ago.
Such a foodie. So I'm here for all of the food stuff, the food trucks. Even Central always has great food over there. Brightworks has great food, like everywhere.
Right.
And now, Meredith House has a chef, Donatella's there. It's amazing.
She's really good.
Oh my gosh. Like her food is insane. So it's a really good thing.
And Loom is really great too.
Yeah. I mean, all of those restaurants down there, and they're also vastly different.
Yeah. Well, that's the key.
Well, that's the goal.
Right.
But on any given day, whatever type of foodie craving you have, there is some place down there that can like check the box for you. So.
Yeah. I mean, I'm getting hungry right now.
And now Honey and Ivy's next door. So they have like, gluten-free and allergen-free foods. They have the best coffee ever.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is it just like a little coffee shop?
So it's a coffee shop / gluten-free bakery.
Okay.
And don't get me wrong, I love Grounds and I love Girani's. But they have like a very curated coffee collection that switches based on the season.
Okay.
And they use some really clean ingredients to ensure that there's like not allergens in it. So I don't know, as adults, sometimes we react to stuff that we don't even know.
Yeah. Yeah.
That comes with wisdom and age, right? So they have great stuff next door.
So it's like Instagram, your main
Instagram and Facebook.
And Facebook?
That's generally where we're hanging out, doing stuff.
Not on the TikToks or anything?
So if we create a reel for Instagram or on Facebook, we generally share it on TikTok. But our main platforms generally are just Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, it'll probably, once you do get an online that version, TikTok could be
I was about to say then we have somewhere to like transition it back to. Currently, without that e-commerce space, the TikTok shop doesn't really exist for us because we don't have that like a selling platform online. But we'll go to that. We do live selling events.
Right. Do you have an idea of what you'd want to? Are you going to use Shopify? Are you going to use WordPress? Or do you know?
I'm not sure. I mean, when I first...
I know a guy that can...
Oh, you know a guy. Okay, perfect. Yes.
That can help once you get there.
Got it.
Once you get there.
I think when I had initially looked at this, so when I first started the business, I was like, oh, we'll definitely be online, right? And I looked at the Shopify
It's a whole different beast, though.
It's a whole different beast, but I was excited that Shopify was a lot like Square, like the point of sale system that we use, where it's kind of like e-commerce for dummies. Like I could kind of figure it out without having to be like a subject matter expert in websites, because that's not my jam.
Right.
But I don't know. I didn't want our first interaction to be with people like when COVID happened, like we lost your package and now we're trying to find it.
Yeah.
So I was like, we're going to pause this.
That's a great point, too.
So I was like, we're going to step back off of this and continue to just figure out how to continue to be a business. We're going to thrive in this season.
Right. Well, it's impressive, that you've gotten this far, not having that. Like, who knows? Once you get to that point, it's like,
right. So I have to be ready, though, for that when it happens in terms of the support and making sure the pieces, because I think, I don't want to disappoint anybody. I want to be able to create an experience in the mail the same way we are when somebody walks in the door.
So have you thought about your own lines of stuff?
I have thought about it. I need to find some dedicated time to sit down to figure out.
Good luck.
Right?
Good luck with that.
Figure out what that looks like.
See you in 5 years.
Exactly. We'll circle back.
Yeah.
But I think I'll start small with some of the things that we currently do, the things that we do well, and then grow from there and kind of in the background be working on creating some like lines that are specific to Luxe. Which would be kind of cool.
think that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of is that like a 5-year plan realistically? Sooner?
I think probably like a 1 to 2 year plan.
Okay,
Like my daughter graduates in a year from high school. And not that you ever stop being a parent. That's embedded and ingrained in who you are. But in terms of like the day to day, being home to make dinner and, checking in. There won't be as much of that where I'll be able to free up some time to be able to do just that.
She going to go away to school?
Yes. My rule is she has to be at least 2 hours away.
Oh, that's your rule. JMU is a great school, by the way.
Well, that's one of the ones she's looking at. Yeah. She has a desire to be a pediatric speech pathologist.
Okay.
So there's certain schools that offer that program.
It's very unique.
It is. She met one of her friend's aunts and fell in love with the career and that profession path when she heard about it. And she was like, oh, yeah, I would love that. And she's great with kids and all the things. So I think that'd be great for her.
Yeah.
However.
It could be rewarding, too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I want her to experience life outside of the bubble that she lives in.
Yeah.
Haymarket is a very small area. And she doesn't have everything she needs is right there.
Right.
I don't want her to live at home. I want her to do life. And I'll support her in that. And that's and even if she wanted to take a gap year, it just can't be at home.
Yeah.
you gotta go.
You gotta go. I gotta build an empire here.
That's it. And just experience life because, if we don't have perspective, we don't know what we want to do. I just want her to be able to have a perspective on things that she does or doesn't like, and it actually be because she's experienced them and not because someone on social media is telling her or somebody she ran into said, oh, I don't like that. I'm not sure. Have your own thoughts, your own feelings about things, and just know that you always have a place to come home to.
Yeah. Does she work with you now, or does she help at the shop?
Interesting. No.
Refuses to? Does she have a different job or something? Or
so since she's a cheerleader at the school, they generally are active about 10 months out the year. So it limits, especially during football season, how much she can work.
Is it a competition cheer as
Competition cheer, sideline, the whole. They do it all. And they're amazing. And they're an award-winning team, and I love that for them. I wasn't a cheerleader, so cheer mom life has been a learning experience. I'm the mom that's in the crowd yelling things like, let's go, girls. Way to flip that flip. And she's always like, it's not a flip.
It's a back handspring.
Exactly. With a tuck and a this and a that. And I'm like, that, which she said.
Yeah.
So she doesn't work at the shop often. She stops by to utilize the benefits of the shop to go shopping.
Okay.
She brings her girl gang down with her. Okay. And they'll also come out and help us do volunteer events and things like that. But she's an eclipse. She's rare at the shop. However, very memorable.
Yeah. She is as charismatic as you?
She is. She's a big bright light. We just know. She said that when I ask her to do something at the shop, she says, I hear it the same way I hear you asking me to clean my room.
Oh, okay.
So she'll work at a different location for me. She'll cover for me. She'll... it's
hard to break that.
Right. She'll be like, you're not saying it any different than the way you're talking to the rest of your team. She's like, it's just the way I hear it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get that. But she'll come and open the shops and fill in for us whenever we need her to. So it's pretty cool.
Thinking too about the presence, the online presence thing, it would be that much easier if you had your own line and that's all you sold online.
Exactly.
And you don't have to do the boutique stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you got a little bit of time to figure that out.
A little bit of time.
There.
I don't know that we'll ever step away from the brick and mortar world.
No, it's probably too fun and it's profitable.
We have a great time.
Yeah.
Most days don't feel like work, which is the benefit.
Yeah. My old jobs were terrible.
Right.
I hated it.
Yeah, I didn't love all of them.
No, I mean, I'm very grateful to be doing what I'm doing now because I actually do enjoy it. This counts as me working.
Absolutely.
Right now,
right, exactly. It's the part that doesn't feel like work at work, and you get to the end of the day and you're like, man, that whole thing about time flying when you're having fun, that's real.
Yeah.
And if you're doing something you love and that you're passionate about, there's tons of highlights throughout the day. So,
right.
Yeah.
So what do you do that's not working?
Oh,
that kind of fills your cup up or whatever.
For sure. Tons of traveling.
Yeah.
I love new experiences. I'm a complete foodie, so I'm always down to try a new food experience, a new restaurant. My friends are my stop and start in a lot of seasons. They'll identify things for us to go and do.
Yeah.
Practice tons of self-care. And then, for me personally, I feel best when I'm serving other people.
Okay.
So trying to figure out some new opportunities where I can, do some service projects or volunteer at different places, things like that. And then being a mom, of course, but yeah.
Where would you like to travel, or where's the best place that you've been?
Oh my gosh. So one of the things I want to do when my daughter graduates is go backpacking for 6 weeks.
Okay.
So vetting out some locations. I just met with somebody over the weekend who did 6 weeks in Colombia and they loved it.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I'll have to hear about it because I want to be part of the cultural experience.
Columbia, the country, not Columbia, Maryland, right?
Right. Columbia, the country, certainly not. I mean, you could go, you could go backpacking there. That might be interesting. Yeah. We'll invite them on your podcast next week.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I definitely want to travel more into places that definitely haven't been.
Right.
But
Columbia would be cool, though.
I would say I think it'd be a really cool experience,
especially in the wintertime here, where it's nice and warm down there.
Yeah, sign me up. Maybe I'll be a snowbird.
Yeah, I mean, so we would like to travel more, but we traveled a fair amount, a couple times a year. Like we'll do a cruise, or we got married in Cancun.
Okay, nice.
We're going there in April. So, but we went to Iceland one time, and that was like totally different type of experience.
Yeah.
You know, it was cold,
right?
But it was like majestic in a way that you don't get for just going to a beach.
Someone was just telling me about like a river cruise that's down. I don't know if it was somewhere cold for sure, maybe Alaska, but that same idea, like cold but majestic and magical and memorable.
Yeah, I'd like to do just one of each year. That would be good.
My daughter and I went to Belize last summer. She did a sports leadership like mission trip where they got to teach sports because in Belize in the villages they don't have like PE or organized sports, so they got to go out. Her and I think there was 20 athletes total who went from different areas of sports. So cheerleaders, football players, baseball, to teach group sports to kids.
Oh, cool.
And it was really cool, but we had the best time. And I was like, I could live here.
Yeah. And the prices are pretty cheap too.
I was like, I could set myself up to just do this every day. So, yeah,
exactly.
Those are the best trips. The ones you don't want to come back from.
3-bedroom place for $200,000, $300,000 on the water.
Right. And, we were there for, I think, 10 days. So I was able, when we were going back and forth from, location to location, you're seeing all of these real estate opportunities. And I'm like, I could live here today. Like, I don't have to come home at all.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we've thought about, as I get older, I want to retire not in America, possibly Mexico or Belize or something like that. Somewhere just like, I'm happy when there's water around.
Right, I was about to say, I'm a complete mermaid. I'm here for the water. I'm here for all the ocean sounds.
Which is tough in this area. We don't get a lot of water.
We don't really get a lot of that here. And some of the beaches in this area aren't my favorite.
Yeah.
But growing up in Carolina, like we were close to the water, which was really nice. So that was like a weekend jam for us.
Did you go to Wilmington?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have family down there.
Oh, nice. It's an awesome area.
Yeah. I mean, it's very nice. Like, it's a cool town and stuff too. Lots of bands and, shows and stuff to go to.
And that's my other, I think about that in terms of like retirement. If I stayed here in the States, I probably would, do like some beach living. With like one of those teeny tiny shops that's open for 4 hours out of the day.
Yeah. Like in Destin or somewhere, Sarasota or something like that.
Exactly. And you just everybody's like on beach time.
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said. For sure. Especially in this area where the hustle and bustle, there's nobody in a rush at the beach.
Right.
And everything is kind of closed at 2. They take like a midday nap, and then things open back up like dinner time.
And a late midday nap.
Yeah, exactly.
That works for me.
Sign me up all day. Yeah, all day.
Because I'm just so much happier when it's this time. Like when the time changes, like in November, I'm like, okay, just grin and bear it.
Exactly.
Try not to drink too much.
Exactly. And especially at this time of the year, we have like a warm day.
Yeah.
Today where it's comfortable, and tomorrow it's going to snow. I don't need to see all 4 seasons.
No, I don't. One is good.
That's it.
Just warm all the time would be great.
But I could take, if an ocean breeze counts as winter.
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
That's fine. It snowed in Florida a couple weeks ago.
It did.
So I haven't talked about with many people, but did you grow up religious? Do you have any sort of...
So I grew up
do you believe now?
Like faith-based, like my family, we always believed, and, we went to churches and we did different experiences. And if nothing else in life, it helped me to like understand other people, right? And respect their boundaries and know that, it's okay for all of us to have differences. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I grew up like super Christian.
Okay, yeah.
Which is fine. It made me a nice person.
Right, for sure.
Like say I'm sorry and don't be a jerk.
Right.
And all
I was about to say,
stuff,
I think it shaped my morals and it kept my heart soft.
Yeah.
Right. To know that there's so many good people and people have different things to offer. And oftentimes, the version you see of people is because they're going through things that you don't know behind closed doors.
Yeah.
So I think it has helped me to have grace for people.
Yeah.
And to like just, again, lead with kindness because you just never know what somebody's breaking point is going to be.
Right.
My grandmother always used to say, if you throw all your cards, if all of us threw all of our cards down and you saw what people were going through in their life, like if you got to see their problems like face up, you would be scrambling to get your own back.
Yeah.
Well, and so I think that's a lot of that.
Just assume that.
Right. For sure.
They're going through something.
Absolutely. So you just lead with kindness.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're intentionally nice to people at the shop for that reason.
Because of that.
Right. Well, I mean, if you come in and you're like a jerk, it's probably has nothing to do with us.
No, it definitely doesn't.
You've had a day, whatever happened before then, whether that was a phone call or a fight at home or you hate your job or whatever it is, or you found out your friends aren't your friends.
Yeah.
We just want to make it better.
Yeah.
We don't have to talk about it, although retail therapy is real, so people often do talk about it.
I'm sure they do, especially with such a
oh my gosh,
a tailored way of doing it.
Oh, we know everybody's secrets.
Yeah.
They just don't go past us.
So it's like a hairstylist.
Oh my gosh, right? We know all of the juicy gossip.
Okay.
We know what's happening in restaurants. We know what's happening in people's relationships, unfortunately. Like, we know all the things.
Right.
And we just kind of, keep it close and don't repeat it. And, it's the unspoken rule that you just don't repeat it. So, yeah.
Whereas
and then you'll see them
hairstylists tend to repeat it to everybody.
No, we don't. We're not doing that. But then oftentimes, we'll see them weeks later and they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, girl, thank you so much for that week." Or one of our business besties, she came in and she was having a hard day one day, and we were just talking, and she still talks about it to this day. She always says, "Oh my gosh, you girl, if you ever need anything, let me know, because you let me cry in your arms and you sent me out the door with a roll of toilet paper." And I was like, well, I didn't know where else you were going to cry at. Like, we don't have tissues, but we have the toilet paper for you.
You can't cry on all the stuff.
Right.
We need to sell these shirts.
So, we're there for everybody on purpose because, we all have those moments, and sometimes they happen in public accidentally. Right. And if you're in an environment where you feel comfortable around people that you feel comfortable sharing, you blink and you're accidentally like having a moment. Mm-hmm. And the last thing we want people to do is like apologize for having feelings. So it works out.
I mean, it's a normal thing to.
Well, it is to feel your feels for sure. We all have bad days.
Yeah.
We all have tough ones.
No, we don't. They're all perfect.
Right? That's it.
They're all perfect all the time.
That's it.
What's your style inspiration? You say you find stuff, but like what? Like, okay. Is there something you're trying to, or that you like a certain style and that's what you're going to go with?
In terms of like for the shops, like we really focus on like transitional clothes. I don't think you should have to change your clothes 100 times a day, unless you have like a black tie event or there's something that requires you to be like dressed up. Mm-hmm. There are those moments, although I don't always adhere to them. There are there are those moments. So I think clothes should be transitional. You should be able to take them from day to night with small minor changes, right? Mm-hmm. Whether that's you throw on like a moto jacket or change your accessories or hat or something like that. Right. You should be comfortable. Yeah. I don't think clothes should be uncomfortable. I'm not wearing anything that's uncomfortable. Like, nope, not doing it. Yeah. Why would you? Well, people do all the time. You see them adjusting. I'm sure you've been in meetings where you see people like adjusting their clothes. They're so uncomfortable. Yeah. Or they're in something that they hate. Right. Somebody else was like, "Oh no, you should do that," and they were like, "Okay," and then they put it on and they hate it all day. And I think that's been one of the tough things for me, like being businessy with still having some style. And I'm not a 3-piece suit kind of guy. Like I don't want those jobs. I was about to say it also determines the clientele that you're going to attract. Right. You would get some super serious people in here, and you're professional, but you're not, like you said, you're not the suit and tie type. No. So you would have some really rigid people in here, and you'd be like, I don't know. And they can't talk. Right. They can't it would be hard to have like personal conversation and for them to be able to relax because they would feel like they were at work, like in a corporate style setting. Yeah. And then, you look as good as you feel. So I want the clothes to help you to feel confident. Mm-hmm. You don't have to, it's all about how you feel. Is it comfortable? Right. I tell people all the time, like we tell people all the time, they can't buy stuff. Oh, if you don't love it, you can't buy it. If you're on the fence where you're like, I'm not sure, leave it here. Right. Send us a message. Call us tomorrow. Someone else will get it. Yeah, somebody else who loves it or that it works for. But if you have to talk yourself into it, then there's no point. You're going to put it in your closet and you're never coming back. Yeah. So and then the last thing I want you to say is, oh, they sold me something I didn't want. We're not salesmen. We sell confidence, not clothes. Yeah. So you kind of naturally do networking stuff, but how do you think networking, like in the more like rigid way where you actually go into events specifically for that, how do you think that's promoted the business? Or it's like, that's how we met. So. Yeah, it is. So fun fact, I didn't start intentionally networking until probably the last 8 months. Okay. And a lot of it was just that one of the major goals was to be able to connect with other business owners, to be able to figure out ways that we can collaborate. Yeah. And also to find other small business vendors that I had no way of reaching. So oftentimes when there's like, trade shows, market events and things, we all kind of work the same schedules. Right. So sometimes there's so many great people that you miss out on connecting with because you guys are at work at the same time. Right. Yeah. So it's really changed business in the sense that I'm getting to meet some of the most awesome people every single day and to be able to make like genuine connections and people who are like-minded in terms of like growing business, but growing for the right reasons and the right ways. I'm not a huge fan of like rigid networking events. I think they do need creativity, and I don't fit in. I don't, and it's okay. It's okay to not fit in when you're born to stand out. So,
hey,
that's it. Here for that.
Is that on a shirt I can buy?
I mean, maybe we can make that happen. But in that, you meet your tribe, you meet your people.
Yeah.
Right? Like the people that are intended for you. And then it also gives me an opportunity to, in retail, people always come in and ask us for different referrals, recommendations. They assume that we know everything about everything.
Yeah.
So it gives me an opportunity also to refer other businesses.
Right.
Somebody who says, "Oh, do you need a website?" "Oh, call Mike."
Yeah.
"Oh, Brandi, we have a leak at our house. Who's the plumber that you use?" I don't know who my landlord uses. That's not a Brandi thing. But I can recommend somebody amazing that I met in a room 2 days ago.
Right.
That has a great reputation. So it creates a circle of connectivity and like that contagious culture of like collaboration. So,
right. And then growing together.
I would say, and then we're all growing together.
Right.
And then if I know something about your business, then I can refer you, and I can do it with confidence because we've built that rapport and that relationship and that partnership.
Right.
So I can say, "Oh man, no, it's a dope business owner. Call them 100%. Actually, let me connect you to."
Yeah.
And that's what happens, right?
Get them on the phone now.
Exactly. In a room, and then you want to share the good and say, "Oh my gosh, hold on a second. Let me let you meet this guy." So whether that's at like Grow networking events or Million Cups, spend a lot of time there, and some of the other local ones too. Just really awesome, great opportunity. And that's how I found a lot of the services also that I needed for my business, especially when I came to Manassas.
Yeah.
Walked into Million Cups and found, fish window cleaning to like clean our windows. I found, his name is Keone Tillman, and he did a shot for the store when I needed a really quick turnaround.
Okay.
That's how I found Evolution Printing to do the vinyl on our windows. That's how I met you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the whole goal is to support like the local economy in the area of wherever the shop is.
Right.
And I can do that with confidence when I can talk to the people and meet them and see them how they interact and
see their actual stuff, and they've been in business for how long.
Exactly. It's not just a random search online.
Right. Well, like a B&I know that's really good for certain people.
For sure.
But sometimes they're not always the best at what they do, but I have to refer this person.
Right.
Like that's one of the reasons I'm not going to get involved because I have multiple different clients. That
Absolutely.
If I get another like pressure washing guy that's in that group, I can't refer. I've had this client for 6 years. I can't refer anybody else.
Right.
And the couple that I've been to, it's just like, I don't want to say nerdy, but but I said it.
So I think one of the things, and I think although you offer a service, it's a very tailored and personalized approach to how you offer services. I think that's harder when it's not like a rigid service. I do think there's a place for B&Is, and I think they work awesome for certain companies, especially service oriented. But when you have more of a product, it's more of a challenge, I think. So it's the return on the investment isn't always the same.
Right.
And I think sometimes your name can be in B&I rooms without you being in them. So,
okay. Yeah. Is that good or bad?
That's a good thing. I mean, I have a lot of business partnerships that they participate in B&Is. And I do go and support them, when they need somebody to fill in for them, or when they're speaking, like I can go support them. So there's opportunities for me.
You're still in the circle a little bit.
I'm still in the circle.
Without having to be there at 6 in the morning.
Right. And I'm able to support them specifically. And then if somebody says, "Oh my gosh, my wife's birthday is coming up," well, I'm the girl that they're going to recommend. Right. Because we've built that relationship and that rapport. So that's nice. Yeah.
Do you have any like fun plans for this year at all? Or just work?
Oh, no. This year I'm really working on like being more intentional about where I am and why I'm there. Okay. Which means that it's less work and more play. Okay. I'm making the time count. I'm only spending time sharing it with people and going to certain opportunities that I think are valuable and not necessarily like from a monetary perspective in terms of work, but things that I walk away with feeling good about. Yeah. And could be like, oh, I could do that again. And really just making like valuable connections and not doing it just to say that I did it. I think in business, sometimes we have a hard time, at least when I started, I had a hard time saying no. Yeah. Because you don't ever want somebody to, you don't want your brand to be misrepresented or how you feel. You don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And now I'm very clear on the things that I want to do, where I want to do them, and who I want to do them with. And I don't say yes for fun. If it's not fun for me, I'm not going. Yeah. At all. Well,
I should be honored then that you're here,
But like you had great energy and stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh. And like our conversation ahead of time was great. I had heard great things about you. So I didn't have to do any research. Right. I don't want to have to do work after work. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't want to force myself. Now, granted, there's sometimes I wake up and I'm like, man, that's going to be a long day.
Yeah.
Why did I schedule myself that way? But like even today, despite me having 100 other things before this, I was still excited to come. I was like, oh my gosh, no, that's going to be a great conversation. We're good.
Yeah.
Like,
That'll be easy.
Exactly.
Right?
Hence me texting me like, what time is it again?
Well, I thought it was 2 initially, but
I was like looking at my
so
schedule and I was like, why do I have 3 times in this phone? I want to be mindful of my time and leaving where I am.
Yeah.
And, but I want to make sure that how I'm spending my time is not just valuable to me, but I'm also respecting other people's time.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I don't want to go like and be mediocre when I get there. So if I say I'm going to come speak at something at an event or I'm going to do a pop-up, I want to be able to be 100% in that moment because their time is just as important as mine.
Right. So was this your first entrepreneurial thing?
For the most part. So let's see. 10 years ago, I had a motivational coffee cup company.
Okay.
Which was pretty cool. And the whole purpose was like, start today because yesterday you said tomorrow. Like that was the premise behind it. So it was just plain black and white coffee cups and it was a lot of fun. And however, they're heavy and I didn't want to do like shows and take them to shows and do all the things. So but it turned into a lot of like speaking engagements, a lot of workshops, helping people with like goal setting and things like that. So a lot of good stuff came out of it.
So you could be a coach at some point? Have you thought about that? Or you just kind of already are, probably.
I mean, accidentally. I would say accidentally. Now I just give that information away for free because I just want us to see us like do well. And it naturally comes out in conversations. Right. And I mean, I'm invited to speak at different things. And I'm doing a workshop coming up here on happy hour, like a happy hour workshop that's on social media. Okay. And how to leverage it to grow your brand. And I'm sure I have value to offer in that area.
Yeah, considering your whole business is from that.
I have a little bit of value in that area to consider myself a semi-subject matter expert. I'm not all the way there. But I think doing more things that feel good, that are coming, like that just come organically. I don't necessarily seek those opportunities out.
Yeah. So are you really... So I'm like trying to transition myself from like self-employed to being a business owner over the next year.
Okay.
Where I can still, I mean, I still have fun like doing This Is Great. You know, I like doing video stuff too.
For sure.
And I even building the websites because it's more like artistic side of it.
Yeah, it's like the creative aspect.
But whereas some of the more data stuff, like I don't really want, I'd rather just get people to do that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
So do you see yourself as just a business owner now, or you in the weeds all the time, or both?
No, I don't deal with the weeds at this stage in the game.
Awesome.
Because I know, or what I've realized is having resources that know how to do it and do it well, often do it better than me.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's freed up so much of my schedule to be able to do things like what we're doing now, or to go to networking events, or to be able to stay an extra day at the apparel market if I'm going, because I don't have like a whole bunch of stuff that I have to get back to other than just being present.
Right. You're really just like casting the vision at this point and then making sure the ship is going in the right way.
And identifying the right people to help me with the vision. Because there's some people who enjoy certain aspects of the business that, no thanks.
Yeah.
I don't want to math if I don't have to. So I'm going to hire an accountant.
Yeah.
My organizational skills, they exist, but generally in my closet. They're not like administrative and organizational skills.
Okay.
So I have an admin that runs my calendar. I have somebody who helps with payroll and does all of those things so I can be a better version of myself as a business owner, because those things were taking me so long because I dreaded them. And I just kept putting them off and putting them off and putting them off. So then by the time, if I had to do like accounting and then came here, you'd have been like, girl, what's wrong with you? Why are you so tired? Why do you look like you've been hit by a bus? Because I feel like I have.
Yeah.
So
your bloodshot eyes.
That's right. What's happening to you? Like, what kind of party did you have? And I'd have been like, I was doing my taxes.
Yeah. It'd be terrible.
I find people who are experts in the areas of their expertise, and I allow them to run with it. I help them put systems in place for me to help them to help me. And then I can focus on fashion and fun.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So was that like a thing that how long into doing it from 2019 until you got to that where it's like, okay, I can...
So I think in year 2, when I realized that we could actually continue to have a business through COVID.
If you can do it during COVID.
Right. And that's
you're
what I thought.
You're going to be blowing up when COVID's over.
So the first year I was like, because, COVID, I was like, I'm not sure. And, in the beginning when you start a business, generally you don't know what the resources are. Like, you don't know what's out there that's like real. Oftentimes you don't have the money for them.
Yeah.
And more importantly, you don't know who to go to. Who can you trust? Is this somebody, that I can ask to do these things? Because when you have a business, it's all personal.
Right.
They're all up in your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether you want them to be or not, that's how they're going to help you. So it was year 2 when I realized we could make it through, like on the other side of like getting past the 1 year mark. Okay, I can start investing in some of these things because I'm not great in these areas. I'm doing them, but
right.
I don't want to.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's like just, I don't know if it's a fear of mine. I think because I know I can do the work, but
sure.
I need to be able to trust other people
right.
that they can do it as well
and
as
I mean,
I can.
I generally don't give people all of it all at one time, right? Like I help them to understand my business and my role, and what it is what my vision is, right?
Right.
And then I really lean on those other business owners that I trust to say, hey, who do you use for accounting?
Right.
Hey, who cleans your establishment? Who do you suggest in this area that I use to have X, Y, and Z done? And 9 times out of 10, you'll hear the same names over and over again, which is always a good sign.
Right.
And through networking, you'll run into them in a room and you can, kind of get a feel if you think it could be a potentially good partnership.
Right.
But it did take a little while. And then, I just give them a little bit at a time to see if that's something that they can handle or they're interested in. Because some people go, there's been some services that I've sought out where people have been really honest with me and said, hey, I've never done this for a boutique owner and your stuff is completely different. They'll either say, I'm willing to learn, but it may take me a little bit longer. They'll say, oh, I got it, no problem. Or they'll say, I don't know that you're the client for me, but let me refer you to somebody who has experience. The average professional, they don't want you creating hard work for them.
Right. Yeah.
So they're going to pass you on to somebody else, or they're going to say, I can't do it.
Because
they don't want you to be like, oh, they sucked.
Yeah. Well, you definitely don't want that.
Right.
You definitely don't want that.
I think it is trust, but when you find the right people,
So did you have like the confidence when you jumped into it that it was going to be successful, or is it, you're just always like, sort of confident?
Yeah, I was about to say I'm pretty fearless. Like I don't have enough sense to have fear, which is like a gift and a curse that could go either way. And genuinely pretty confident in terms of like the business aspect of it. COVID made me think for a second, like, okay, you might have to pull back. Maybe this is just a not right now moment. This is like the delay is like not a denial, but it's a not right now. But when we were able to push through that, I was like, oh.
Yeah,
that's all. We can do this. And wash, rinse, repeat in terms of like the shops and like knowing every time we open a new one, it gets easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we learn something new.
Right.
We're able to perfect our process a little bit better. So confidence is a huge part of it every day. And there's some days that I'm in the car and I'm having a little pep talk with myself.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. But
for sure. But 9 times out of 10, I wake up and I'm ready to take on the day and whatever stumbling blocks or challenges we might have. And I just look at everything as an opportunity for growth.
Right.
And to learn something new. Because with every shop that we've opened or every opportunity or even pop-up or even collaboration we've had, it's never the same. There's never 2 days that are the exact same. It's always different. So
right, that's fun.
Yeah. It is. Oh, for sure. There's nothing boring about what we do.
Which is great. Yeah. Like working in an office, doing the same thing every day is like,
And some people love that routine.
Yeah.
And I love that for them.
Right.
It's just not for me.
No, me neither. Me neither. Not at all.
Yeah.
So you have some ideas for expansion.
Yes.
When would that be? Are you going to try and stay in like old towny places, like
that's the
Old
goal.
Town Alexandria? Maybe?
Yeah, maybe. We might be pushing the the mark a little bit further out.
Okay.
I love the idea of Old Town areas.
Yeah. Charlottesville's got a nice little Old Town area too.
See? I mean, everybody. That's the thing. Everywhere I go, people are always like, "Well, you should look at it." And when I
Culpeper.
I would say Culpeper is really awesome, and I do go visit other places intentionally. I mean, to support other local small shops.
Yeah.
But also to really just figure out what makes that area tick, and whether or not there's space for us. I think there's room for everyone, but I also I know that it makes people uncomfortable if you come in with the same exact thing that they do in terms of the idea.
For sure.
So if there's already an existing boutique, I'm not going to go and create another boutique. I might go in and talk to that boutique owner.
Right.
And figure out, because sometimes they're like, hey, our lease is over tomorrow and we don't have anybody. Do you want us to send you the landlord's information? So
okay.
so sometimes that happens. Yeah. Or sometimes, we do pop-ups in areas just to kind of get a feel for it before we take that leap. And oftentimes it creates a market and an audience there. And then people seek us out. They come to us and say, hey, there's a brick and mortar opening. Is it something you're interested in? So one of the newest locations that we're looking at kind of happened that way.
Okay.
And when we went to meet with them and see the space, they were like, we know all about you. Everybody here is saying, you know what I mean? So a lot of times the work is done for us, which is really cool.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, you're just negotiating the price of it or how long your lease would be?
Yeah, really the lease. And, if it's a fair price, I'm not I'm never the person that's going to haggle with you on your price. If that's your price, that's your price.
Right.
And it's whether or not, I'm
might
saying
not
yes.
be for you. Yeah.
I may not be for you. And it may be that you try some other places and then you circle back and you go, you know what? So I'm not.
I actually just had a client that left me and then came back after 3 months because who they went with was terrible and didn't communicate
Sometimes
at all.
Sometimes they have to figure out if the grass is greener.
Yeah.
That's a real thing. That's both in life and in
Good luck.
pressure. Yeah. See you soon.
Yeah. Exactly.
Welcome back. I'm always going to welcome you back.
Yeah. Totally.
So we'll see what comes up soon.
So what are your hours?
So it varies based on the area.
Yeah.
Because we want to meet everyone where they are. So so in Warrenton, we're open 7 days a week. And we are there from about 10 in the morning to 6. And then when it gets a little bit warmer, we'll be open to 7.
Yeah.
And we also do like First Fridays there. And so we mimic whatever hours everyone else is doing on specific days. Here in Manassas, we don't open until noon because everybody's leaving the city on the VRE and coming back for like lunchtime. So no one's shopping.
And you tried that out?
What's that?
You tried out like being earlier in the day?
So I really spent some time down here to just observe and see. I talked to a lot of the other shopkeepers and just saw like ask the questions.
Normal flow is.
Right. And most people who are shopping in our boutique, they're either there on a mission, like they know what they get, or they know what they want, or they're coming for like a specific thing. I have an event to go to. I'm buying a birthday gift, or they're just kind of meandering around town. That meander isn't happening in the morning. That's after lunch or right before lunch while they're killing time or waiting for their hair appointment or whatever's next. They're off of work and they're just killing time until their kids get home. So we open there at noon, and not a lot in the historic district here in Manassas is open on Mondays. So we don't open on Mondays.
How often are you in the Manassas one?
That's a great question. It's really based on the ebbs and flows of the shop.
Right. So you're there if there's like a special event or something.
So I'm there for a special event, and I'm physically working in the store at least 2 days a week.
Okay.
But it doesn't limit me. I'm not tied to any one store because I don't ever want to lose touch with what's happening. Yeah. And then I don't ever want to miss the people that I've built relationships with in terms of people who walk through the door. They're an extension of our family. Yeah. So I don't ever want to miss that. The hardest thing for me to hear over and over again is, we were there yesterday. We didn't get to see you. Right. It's the hardest.
Well, that would be tough expanding too. Or like, are you going to have to lean on whoever your manager is to be you in those places? Because at some point, you're only going to have so much time in a day.
Part of the beauty of Studio Luxe is many of the team travels from location to location. So it's always a familiar face.
Yeah.
So even if it's not me, it's somebody who's built a rapport. When I first took a step back from the Warrenton location and started, growing in things, that was one of the hardest things is people would be like, oh, where's Brite? Oh, she's not here. I'm gonna come back. And they would walk right out the door. They would not see me and walk right back out the door. We had to really work hard to help people understand that you're going to get the same level of service, same level of conversation, and anything you need. Now, if they message me and say, Brandi, where are you today? Oftentimes I will tell them, come to this store, I'll be here. Or they'll say, on this day, I want to have a girls day. And, my mom's in town from this place and she really wants to see you. I can put myself anywhere to be able to accommodate that. Right. Anytime there's First Fridays, I try to be at First Friday, specifically here in Manassas, just because it's a different vibe. Yeah. And it was our first year doing them, so I needed to be here to be able to advise. But on that night, there's 4 of us here because we generally sell things outside on the street. We set up a whole bunch of fun stuff. We have a DJ, and we sell in the store. And then for certain pop-ups, if they're ones that I've had relationships with for a really long time, I try to go to those. And then some of the other ones that are newer, we're working on having some a dedicated events team that does them, so people aren't necessarily looking for me.
Yeah.
And then I've really created a back-end system that's more streamlined, so people aren't contacting me directly. They're contacting my events manager to set those things up so that, again, it's still personalized, but somebody's going to get back to you faster than I do because I'm like squirrel. Yeah. A phone call, a meeting. It might take me days. I ghost people all the time on accident. Right. And they're like, hey, girl, we were in a full-on conversation in DMs on Instagram 3 weeks ago, and I'm like, I forgot to hit send.
I haven't been.
I forgot to press send on that last message. Yeah. My bad. I was waiting for you to respond, I thought.
Yeah, I've definitely been there. I've definitely been there. I don't really use Instagram that much personally, but I use TikTok more than anything.
All right, yeah.
But I'm starting to use Instagram now because this will be chopped up into 15 or 20 clips of all good stuff, and I'll send it to you guys. So a little cross promotion sort of thing.
For it,
So is it just Studio Luxe on Instagram?
So we're Studio Luxe Boutique on Instagram. Studio Luxe and the city.
Okay.
And Luxe.
Is that the Manassas one?
That's the Manassas one because it's a city.
Yeah.
And Luxe in Loco, like Loudoun County.
Awesome.
With more handles to come with the new location.
Yeah.
Yes,
awesome.
yes,
Well,
yes.
thank you for coming.
Absolutely.
It's been a joy. I don't
Awesome.
want to talk about everything because I know we'll probably go on for hours.
That's it.
So
To be
we'll have you
continued.
back in
I'll
like
say we'll
next
send
quarter
another-
or when
That's
you next
it.
your next
That's
location. We'll do it then.
And we'll have you come out and do some of the video stuff for some of the upcoming fun.
Oh yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
That's
Awesome.
it.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.